Hey, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Lando from the Snap, joined as always by my co host Mac on a Sunday where we answer every single question. We've got lots to talk about. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And we've got more context this Sunday than we have all year. You are up in your matchup, you're behind in your matchup. So all those details really count. Mac, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Yeah. It's nice to have 4 games out of the way because you know where you stand going into today. Less fantasy implications, people could say, but more information. So if you need to get a little risk adverse to catch up or stay ahead, you can just mitigate risk or be risky if you need to, which is really, really nice. So unfortunately, we have lots of in and outs to talk about and some questionable marks that may be very fantasy relevant, but we'll try our best to get through all of them here in the Power Hour.
Love it. Love it. Um, yeah, you've got a big list, Mac. You bring up some points here, the news that we've come across, and then we'll shortly discuss what fantasy implications those actually have on our teams.
Yeah, sure. Number one, I think Cooper Cup being listed as questionable, expected to play is a big one to talk about because he may have felt like he busted you last week, but the reality is he just went out really early, but looked to be involved. Favorite target, as we all expect, for Matthew Stafford. The question is, are you going to play him? They have the 4 o'clock slot, 4:25, I believe. You
Yeah,
get the afternoon to figure it out, but I feel like Cooper Cup's going to be a tough one to replace if you are a Cooper Cup owner.
yeah, I will be playing Cooper Cup. I'm gonna start him as like a wide receiver two in a lot of leagues. So in and around, I've talked to you a little bit off camera about that Zay Flowers level player. I
Hmm.
do think if since Cooper Cup is going to play, he will be good. I don't expect him for re-injury. He's not going to be a decoy. That's not my concern because the Rams are kind of just they're competing, but they're not. They wouldn't put him out there just as a decoy. I do
For
think Puka
sure.
Nakua is a great play as well. He looked great once Cooper Cup went out. I'm playing both of them. They should probably be considered both around that wide receiver two mark because of their potential.
Let's stick with the Rams and go to the running back position.
Mhm.
Kyren Williams, activated from the IR. He is expected to play today. Things you need
Yeah.
to know about Kyren Williams when he is healthy and the starter: averages 88% of snaps, gets about 20 opportunities per game, and the Cardinals are a bottom 5 run defense. They played each other in week 6 and he had 158 yards.
Yeah, Kyren is a phenomenal play. I wish he wasn't because I'm playing against him. I got to get kind of touchdown luck in this game. Like I think that if you are facing against Kyren Williams, you're hoping those touchdowns go to Puka and Cooper Cup, and that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate truth because I think Kyren has a great play. Arizona Cardinals are just a sieve to running backs, and yeah, it's going to be wheels up for Kyren Williams. If you have him, you've been hanging on to him for so long, put him in your lineup. There's not too many running backs I would be playing ahead of Kyren Williams. That's the kind of confidence I have this week.
Yeah, same. I think if you can play him, you play him. I'm in a situation where I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, who already played, Travis Etienne, and DeAndre Swift as my other running backs, and
Ooh,
I just can't
well,
fit Kyren in.
call me a
So,
liar then. I would play both Etienne and Swift over Kyren.
but I've debated, the Buffalo matchup for DeAndre Swift. Seems like it should be good for fantasy, but you just never know what Buffalo team's going to show up this year. Let's stick with some studs. Justin Jefferson said that he was expected not to play this week, but now he's been upgraded to questionable. The Vikings play the Bears on Monday night, which is problematic for you as a fantasy owner. Justin Jefferson, if healthy, by all accounts, even with Josh Jobs, is an absolute must play. But can you afford to potentially take a donut if he doesn't? Where are you at with Justin Jefferson here?
This is worst case scenario for everyone involved. Like, unless you have a DJ Moore type player to put
Sure.
instead of Justin Jefferson, I would be starting your players today. I don't want to wait for Justin Jefferson. If it comes out tomorrow that he's out, then you're screwed. You have no other options. So unless you have someone else playing, maybe a TJ Hawkinson, put TJ in the flex and start another tight end today or something along those lines. Then you can kind of roll the dice tomorrow against Chicago. It's a great matchup, but I really don't expect Justin Jefferson to play. My lean is that he's going to be inactive. We got that news earlier in the week that he was doubtful. Now he's upgrade questionable, but I don't think he's going to play. Unfortunately, it's been a frustrating season for Jefferson. And when this is crunch time, Mac, if you're like right on that fringe playoffs, this is why it's so important this week. We have you need to win now, and a 0 from your flex play or a wide receiver spot will not do that for you.
The problem is for the Vikings is that they sit at 6-5, and they're in a situation where they have a pretty winnable matchup. So, I did get the argument that Justin Jefferson may not rush back because this might be a lost season for the Vikings. And, they're down Kirk Cousins. They've been without Justin Jefferson, and yet they're 6-5. They're second in the NFC North. A win today puts them a game behind the Lions, but they do have a bye week next week. So, I see it from both sides. It's like if Jefferson can help them win this week, they're a game back. If they lose and Jefferson doesn't play, then, it's like they're just going to sit him and then wait out the bye week and then get him back in action. But, can they win the game without him? Probably. If he played, with the probability go up? Yes. So yeah. I still think the Vikings have lots to play for. So I'm not necessarily just shutting it down that Justin Jefferson's not going to play because the Vikings have a lost season. I definitely don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think that's that would be the reason. I think it'll be purely health, and I do know that they need him and need him to win. But I think it's just going to be, they have to think about the future with Jefferson. He's their franchise wide receiver. He's elite. And I think that you got to think about that before, winning and losing a game. But we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. What's your lean? Do you think he actually does play?
I think he does play. I don't think he's involved to the capacity that you would want a Justin Jefferson in your starting lineup. That's where I'm at with him. But I do think he plays.
Gotcha. Okay. If they're both active then. So you have Jefferson and Addison. If you have both those wide receivers, do you just play Addison over Jefferson? If they're both active? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Jordan Addison's the wide receiver 13 on the year right now. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I know.
He's been so good. I think if you've got a Darnell Mooney, or that you could scoop him up and play him, or have him as a reserve, you could maybe take a chance on Jefferson if he does play.
Sure. But
there's probably not a lot of options that I would play. How am I trying to say this? Justin Jefferson remains a low priority for me this week. Let's just put it that way.
I tend to agree. So we have 9 people watching right now. Toss a like on the video. We do answer every single question. I guess it's less busy today. So give us more context. Let us know if you're behind, if you're in front, if you played the Lions kicker, let us know. Put up a 0, that will help us make your decision based on upside, floor, what you need out of players. So we're able to give you more details this week if we're not that busy, and maybe more people come through it. It's a very pivotal week for a lot of people. I have some must-win matchups in deep leagues. So hopefully we have a good stream here.
Last one here. T. Higgins out, again. So the question is, are you going to look to play anybody not named Jamar Chase for the Cincinnati Bengals?
I'll play Joe Mixon. Wide receiver, I'm not looking at or Trenton Irwin or anyone like that. But I know you had concerns with Joe Mixon, where I completely understand your concern. They play Pittsburgh. It's a tough divisional matchup. They're going to have trouble moving the football. It's yes, Browning looked pretty good in limited time. They let him throw the ball, which is encouraging. I think and Jamar Chase, I think, is going to be just fine. But you're looking at levels of the New York teams now. The the Jets where Garrett Wilson gets 10 targets and it's not all good.
The
And
quality
then
is low. Yeah.
you have Breece Hall and Saquon Barkley that there's tons of work there, but they have limited touchdown opportunities. So I do think that the Bengals are better than those teams, and Browning seems to be pretty competent, but it's going to be it might be a little bit of a painful watch. You're hoping for a touchdown, one of those goal line touchdowns from Joe Mixon.
Yep.
And then a bunch of screenplays. And if he gets a chunk play of 25 yards, that's going to be great. But that, like, on the ground, it's going to be a 2-3 yard grind at a time, I think, in this matchup.
I just wanted to bring up maybe the name of Tyler Boyd.
Sure. Oh yeah, I guess I don't know why I didn't go to Tyler Boyd first.
So the only thing is that historical data in this sense doesn't really, in my opinion, correlate, because you don't have Joe Burrow play calling anymore. You've got Jake Browning. So,
Yep.
if we want to look to the splits with, Boyd with and without Higgins, he's essentially an 8 target per game guy and a 12 fantasy point guy in a full PPR league without Higgins. Now that was with Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are not, they're a good defense in total defense, but against the fantasy wide receiver, they are a bottom 10 defense in that facet. So, are we in a good spot potentially with Tyler Boyd? Yes. Does that rely on Jake Browning being competent? Yes. Where do you want to bet? Where do you want to hedge? That's really the question. Trenton Irwin's also been an option for Browning as well. So I think there may be some value in the tertiary wide receivers for the Bengals, but not one I'm willing to, go out on a limb on.
Not a ton. I don't have a ton of confidence in anyone else as far as the wide receivers. Not even Tyler Boyd. If there's going to be one, it would be him. And you're hoping for a bunch of targets.
Would you rather play a guy like Tyler Boyd or Quentin Johnston?
At least, oh man, that's a very good question, because I do think Tyler Boyd's a very good wide receiver, and I don't think Quentin Johnson is. So,
Right.
But you have the quarterback scenario are opposites, where, Browning, we just don't know yet, and Herbert we know is elite, and just, I think I would just go Tyler Boyd and hope that it's a full PPR league.
Tyler Boyd or Odell Beckham that's questionable with the shoulder?
Boy. So Odell's questionable. I do think he's going to be relatively involved. I probably go Odell.
Tyler Boyd or Zay Flowers?
Zay, for sure. Zay by a lot.
Okay.
I think Zay is the number one option there, especially with the banged up Odell. Odell's been looking really good. I've been very impressed with Odell, but he
Agreed.
does get a little bit banged up, a little bit injured, and if you're going to own one of those wide receivers for the Ravens now that Mark Andrews is on IR, Zay Flowers should be the guy to go to.
Let's go to our Snap Army members first. Easy coming through. Standard scoring, 2 QB league. Second QB, pick one, Minshew or Ritter. I will go with Minshew.
I agree. Yeah.
Beautiful. And a start sit in the standard scoring, he's projected to lose. McBride or Likely for tight end. I would go with McBride personally. I
think so too. It's a good matchup for McBride. I know he didn't have the best game last week, and we were pretty high on him. And Isaiah Likely hasn't been as good as kind of we remember when Mark Andrews is out. It's
Mark Andrews hasn't really even been good this year.
Yeah, and but a couple of decent games, but I agree.
Not what you drafted him to be, anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think McBride is a good answer.
Standard scoring, projected to lose. Pick 2 wide receivers in a flex. Shaheed, DJ Moore, Dell, Keaton Mitchell, Rashee Rice. I would go DJ Moore and Tank Dell for sure.
Yeah, Tank Dell's a must start.
And I would probably go, you're looking for a touchdown between Rice, Mitchell, Shaheed, and I would just go with Rice.
Yeah, I think Shaheed's a good play this week too. His snap counts have been going up over the weeks. He's a good deep ball, target for Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is starting, correct?
Yeah, I think I go Shaheed over Rice.
Okay.
somebody in that Kansas City offense needs to do something.
Rice has been kind of the standout wide receiver, but it's not to a level that we're wanting to play for fantasy, right? But he's been the touchdown guy outside of Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Half PPR projected to lose. Pick 2, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Puka Nacua, Rondell Moore.
Moore and Nacua for me.
The Adam Thielen disrespect is crazy.
Well, projected to lose, so he needs a big play. He needs a big high upside play. I think Thielen presents a really good floor. He's going to get, he could have double-digit targets. You know, he's going to be fine. If he doesn't get in the end, like, he might be okay. I don't disagree that Thielen is a solid play, but upside play, I think Puka has shown some big upside, especially if Cooper Kupp is limited and Nacua is the number 1 target.
Right.
That's
Adam Thielen lately, 8 for 74, 6 for 42, 5 for 29, 8 for 72, 11 for 115 and 1, 11 for 107 and 1.
Yeah, the 100-yard games, those are big.
It's the target count the last 6 games, 11, 10, 6, 11, 13, 13.
Yep.
If you go back 2 more games, 8, 14. Like he's got 3 games this year, 11 for 115 and a score, 11 for 107 and a score, 11 for 145 and a score. Like he's got the big game in him too.
Yeah. So you would go, I assume you would go more as a for sure.
I would go more Thielen. I think with Cooper Kupp coming back, the ceiling for Nacua is just much less.
Right.
But I do see the argument for Nacua because he's a top 12 wide receiver on the year.
Yeah, he's been very good. He's had some ceiling plays too. Not recently. He had a good game last week. Got in the end zone, 70 yards. But yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere.
In the absence of Cooper Kupp, though.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you're right. It's what you believe on Cooper Kupp. It comes down to it. If Cooper Kupp is limited or inactive, I think Nacua becomes a much higher play. If Cooper Kupp is involved in his kind of old self and you think he's a full go, you saw Nakua's kind of targets and market share just drop considerably. His upside is limited as well.
DJ Moore for sure, and then the other 2 food for thought.
Yep.
Kelly Mahone, Kyren. I assume that's Kyren Williams or
Bijan Robinson.
Ooh.
Yeah, because we already have some games, so I think it's got to be Bijan.
I think so too. I would go with Bijan.
Yeah, I really I think they're probably I want to say Bijan Robinson. New Orleans defense has been good and bad, kind of interchanged. They look like an elite defense, and then all the other weeks they look like a sieve. I hope that Bijan and his usage keeps going up and they kind of get it together in Atlanta. Yeah. Where I think we know for sure that Kyren has the full workload no matter what. They've released or they put Darrell Henderson down on the practice squad. I don't think he's practice squad. Sorry. I don't think he's active today even. So where Bijan is still going to split the carries. We know that you're hoping for targets and a lot of work, and a touchdown hopefully, but volume is going to be on the side of Kyren Williams, and it's a really good matchup.
It is. And, with a divisional matchup here for Atlanta and New Orleans, you'd like to go to some historical data here this year, but this is their first meeting. They play each other in week 18 again. So this is our first look at Bijan Robinson against the Saints, and I do lean Bijan. I do understand that Tyler Algier is a massive thorn in his side, but we're relying on a player to come back from injury and be effective, and the sample size on that is not great.
I give you that one, absolutely. If there's any concern with coming back from injury and re-injury, I think Bijan is a phenomenal play. You have a good problem to have, Kelly. I agree. You're right. I think that's a very, very fair argument. You have an injury, maybe concern coming back from injury for Kyren, and you have a Tyler Algier issue for Bijan Robinson. The better player is clearly Bijan. That's not in question.
Right.
And he can make anything happen at any time. He might be the most talented running back in the league right now. Maybe not named Christian McCaffrey, but yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is just. We were talking Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. If you've got them this year, it's like cheating.
Oh man, I know. We'll talk about that later if we have time.
We certainly will. Tough one here in a full PPR. James Conner, your boy Jalen Warren, or Javonte Williams.
Yeah, Javonte plays Cleveland. That's a tough matchup.
It's a terrible matchup.
Yeah, and Jalen Warren, we got a report today that he's going to be, the lead back in Pittsburgh.
Shocker.
For what's hard to say what that's really truly worth. And then James Conner, the Rams. I mean, they're all in a very similar range.
Yeah.
Like a very solid running back 2 option, like who has the running back 1 upside? I don't know. I don't know who that is.
I think like the recent data and recency bias for Jalen Warren is very high. He's outperformed Najee. He's looked explosive. He's made big plays, and you kind of just want to keep that going in your lineup. On the flip side, James Conner coming back from injury, he's gotten the volume that you've wanted. He was involved in the passing game last week, has yet to get into the end zone, but they're in a game today where they can probably compete and maybe even win. I'm picking the Rams to win this matchup. Or sorry, I'm picking the Rams to win this matchup, but probably not by much.
Right.
I lean probably James Conner slightly.
Yeah.
I do understand if you wanted to hedge on or stay in the flames with Warren, but I'm going to go with James Conner because I just believe he's a better player.
I don't have a strong argument against that. I think Conner will have more opportunities. Jalen Warren, you're relying on efficiency, and you're looking at box score, right? You're looking at those explosive. I think he had a 70-yard run.
That was a beautiful run, though,
which is great. You want to see that, but you're seeing James Conner, 16 opportunities his first week back, 14 opportunities plus 3 targets his second week back with Kyler. I think he could get close to 20 opportunities, and if he gets that might double what Warren gets.
Yeah, not to take anything away from Jalen Warren, but a 74-yard run, 9 carries for 129 yards, and it's efficiency. 14.3 yards per carry last week, but the week before, 15 for 101, involved in the passing game. You can't knock what Jalen Warren's doing right now. I personally would go Conner. I think it's between Conner and Warren. I don't think you can play Javonte against the Cleveland Browns. I truly don't.
That would be a tough one for sure.
It'd be really, really tough. Going to John here. Good morning from Las Vegas, Sin City. How's it going?
Love that.
Flex, Josh Downs or Khalil Herbert, and at the tight end, Dalton Kincaid or Isaiah Likely. This is a full PPR.
Have you heard news about Josh Downs? I assume he's going to play.
I believe he is playing, and if he's playing, I am playing him. I think this is a really good fantasy matchup today between the Colts and the Bucks. 2 quarterbacks that like to throw the ball. You got Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew. Josh Downs needs to get back on track. He's had a couple down games, but I have little to no faith in Khalil Herbert. We haven't really seen him be any good. It's been, the Deonta Foreman show, really. And I don't know that they stray away from him.
I think I saw that Foreman was out.
Oh,
but let me just double check.
Did I miss that?
Let me see.
Did I?
Doubtful.
Okay. Then maybe.
I still think I like Josh Downs.
No, I like Josh Downs too. I think full PPR puts it in Josh Downs' favor for me more so. Because, again, Khalil Herbert, we haven't seen him do anything since he went down, which is a long time ago.
And, I mean, to be fair, we haven't seen that either from Josh Downs. But we saw the upside when he was healthy. And he was back the past 2 weeks. They were underwhelming, but they have a bye week. And I do think this is the week he gets back on track. So, I like Josh Downs. And
yeah. I think this is also going to be a good game. I do have the Colts coming out on top. I got Jonathan Taylor for a big one today. Yeah, you got to think that JT is going to just take him for what it's worth. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then Dalton Kincaid or Isaiah Likely. I think this is just Dalton Kincaid for me all day.
Too easy. Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
Dalton
very,
Kincaid, you
very easy.
have to start him.
Targets the last 5 games since he missed week 6. 7, 6, 11, 7, 8 receptions. 6, 5, 10, 5, 8. That's fantastic for a tight end. His low yardage in the last 5 is 46 yards. It was 6 for 46. So in a full PPR league, we're looking at 10.5 fantasy points without
Yeah.
getting into the end zone. So
Really good. Love Kincaid. John, if you're in a playoff spot, you have a deep bench, I don't mind hanging on to Likely. But if you're fighting for players and it's a short bench and very competitive league, and you're not going to play Likely this week, you could probably drop him because they're on bye next week. So,
right.
like, grab a backup running back. Grab a Josh Kelly for the Chargers, and if Eckler goes down, you have the starter kind of thing. Like, those kind of players, if they hit really big. Where hanging on to 2 tight ends when you have an elite guy, I think it's fair to say Kincaid's relatively elite right now. It's
The
almost
only
no
thing
point.
that you got to keep in the back of your mind is that they have a week 13 bye, but so does Isaiah Likely. The Ravens have a week 13 bye as well.
They're both on bye. So
So this
then,
is actually where you dump Likely and you
yeah,
pick up a tight end that you can play in week 13.
grab Pat Fryermuth or something that's back this week that we're kind
Sure.
of exciting to see. I see another question coming in from Strode the Knight talking about Fryermuth. But so check what other tight ends are available or have a really good matchup next week anyways.
Yeah, Stro will be there momentarily. Going to skip over to Stuart's question here. Really just here because I enjoy the show. Love checking in each week. For the sake of asking a question, I'll ask Murray or Fields, though I feel they're evenly matched. I think so too, Stuart. And thanks for popping by. We love seeing your name pop up. We know you're coming in from London. So, you're just probably eating some dinner right now. But yeah, we appreciate you coming by. I think that they are very evenly matched. I think Justin Fields is in a really good spot against the Vikings. I don't know if
Yeah,
you agree, disagree.
totally agree. Yeah.
Kyler's been good in his return, though. So the real question is, do you want to enjoy yourself today, or do you want to just wait and have Justin Fields play Superman for your team?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm sorry, but I hate when something comes down to Monday Night Football. It leaves Monday is ruined. I wanted to get it done today. My stress level today is going to be just fine. It's going to be off the charts. I'd just rather get it over with. That's why it's kind of nice to have these Thursday games that we're already halfway through. So I'm going to just play Kyler today and just see how it goes. If it goes great, perfect. The matchup's done.
Stuart, can you afford to have a very sleepy Tuesday at work? Potentially needing Justin Fields on a Monday at like 3 o'clock in the morning your time or 2 o'clock in the morning your time. I'm personally going with Justin Fields. I think his ceiling's higher. I think their lack of depth and talent at running back is just going to speak to Justin Fields using his legs a little bit more. And
Yeah.
I think the Vikings are a lesser defense than the Rams. So I'm going to roll with Justin Fields, but I know it comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost. Your Tuesday morning will be sleepy if you're up late watching that game.
For what
I
it's
like
worth,
that.
though, I think you have a good problem here on your hands. I think you got 2 top 10 options. It maybe comes down to which one of them runs a touchdown in for themselves or who's more productive with their legs. But I think you have a good problem.
Yeah. We got 15, 16 people watching right now. Toss a like on the video. We do answer every single question. So stay tuned, hang out, just like our buddy Stuart, and enjoy the show. We will get to as much detail as we have time for. Give us as much context as you want, whether you had a bad performance on Thanksgiving or you need a big one today. Let us know the details. It helps us out, give you some context, and give you some upside plays for your start sit questions.
Absolutely. Full PPR, Kyren or Jalen Warren? Or do I go Puka or Nico Collins?
Kyren for sure at running back.
Wow. The confidence is high.
I hate it because I'm playing against him. Like
Right.
I'd be so happy if I was wrong about Kyren Williams, but and I hope he doesn't get hurt. I hope he's a great play. I've got him a couple dynasty leagues, and I think he's got a lot. I think he's going to be the running back next year for the Rams. I'm not selling Kyren Williams. I think he's going to
Sure.
be just fine long term for the Rams. But yeah, it seems like it's just a perfect matchup, perfect play. He had a long extended IR stint, so he should be back a full go.
Okay. What about Puka or Nico? I think I'm with Puka still.
I think I like Puka more. Nico's been very good. Noah Brown is out again. Stroud's been phenomenal. I think you can't really go wrong with either one. I lean Puka as well. I think he's just a better player.
Full PPR, I go Puka. Nico Collins is more of your downfield, bigger play threat, whereas we know Puka and Cooper Kupp are like mirror images of each other. It's just a volume play. So you might only get 40, 50 yards out of Puka, but it might come on 7 receptions, so whereas Nico, you're looking for a long touchdown or, some big plays. So not that those won't be there. I in a full PPR league, I think the floor is higher for Puka.
Yeah, I agree.
That's where I would go. Looking for a higher floor play, projected to win by a decent amount, Javonte Williams or Chris Godwin in a full PPR, I would go with Godwin.
Godwin has not been very good. And
Javonte Williams has been good. I am just afraid of the Cleveland Browns defense.
Yeah. I don't blame you there. It's a good matchup for Chris Godwin. Yeah, it's been tough. If you take the name value out of it, I think you just go Javonte Williams. But we know that Godwin's a good player. We know it's a good matchup. Yes, it doesn't seem like Baker Mayfield targets him. It's the Mike Evans show. But with the possibility of Rachaad White being a little bit limited, he is active, is going to play, but he's banged up. I'm not sure if he gets his full workload. With that kind of little wrinkle in the Bucs kind of game plan, maybe you see some more targets for Chris Godwin, closer to line of scrimmage, screenplays. If you're in a full PPR league, it's just better. Just a better play. And Eric is full PPR. Now, floor play, usually it's running backs that gets the floor play, right?
Sure.
Just because of just the volume. And even in a bad matchup, you just get volume, and hopefully he falls into the end zone on a goal line play. But full PPR, Godwin should have 5 or 6 receptions. So
Javonte Williams really has struggled the majority of the year. You want to look at his last 2 games. Well, even last week wasn't great, but in between his bye weeks, 27 for 85 and 21 for 79. Only had 11 attempts last week and 2 receptions. We go back to the beginning of the year, 13 for 52, 12 for 44, 11 for 42, 10 for 52. He really, really struggled. And, he hasn't really even played good run defenses lately. I mean, we're talking about Minnesota, Buffalo, Green Bay, Chicago. Like these are not teams that we're afraid of on the ground. The Cleveland Browns, the number 1 defense on the year.
Yeah, no.
So if you want to talk about floor, last 2 games, just as a small sample size, we've got 21 for 79, so 7.9 fantasy points.
Got in the end zone.
Did he get in the end zone? Oh, he did get in the end zone against Buffalo. Last week did not. You're looking at probably, what was it, 17 the week before, and then last week under 10. So call it 11. Chris Godwin, 6 for 39. That's 10 points. 4 for 54. They're probably pretty similar. Chris Godwin is probably playing at his floor right now because he hasn't got into the end zone in a while.
Yeah.
I just don't see the touchdown upside for Javonte Williams. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So I don't know. We're probably debating similar things here.
Yeah.
You're probably right. And Javonte is the the higher volume play, but I think this is a game where the Bucks and the Colts have a little bit of a shootout.
Yeah, you could be right. It could be the game for Godwin, but it's hard to project when he hasn't really had that in a minute. But
I know.
let's move on here. Let's go to Dan. I think it's a pretty easy one. I have confidence in Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with Rashad White limited and a little bit banged up.
Since losing Andrews, start Freiermuth or Otten in PPR. I'd probably start Freiermuth.
I think I'd go Freiermuth as well.
Yeah. Last spot, flex, full PPR league, Puka, Javonte, Kyren, or Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, I think.
Between Kyren and Tank, and I probably lean Tank. I think when you've got such a good option like Tank Dell and Puka Nacua, you probably look there than a running back returning from injury. If it was Kyren versus Javonte, I would go Kyren with a lot of confidence. But when you introduce Tank Dell, who's basically a wide receiver 1 on the year, in a really good matchup today against the Jags, I don't know how you go away from him.
He had 145 yards and a touchdown against the Jags in week 3. So, I mean,
he's a problem.
He's a problem.
Pick 3.5 PPR, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco, Derrick Henry, and Bijan Robinson. I
think I sit Pacheco from that list.
Yeah, I think so too. And like
it's the Derrick Henry. He's been bad. He's been just
really bad.
Really bad. But the matchup is phenomenal. And if anyone's gonna have a big game that against Houston, right? No. Who do they play again?
Sorry, the Titans. They play the Carolina Panthers.
Right, sorry. The Panthers, one of the worst run defenses in the league. It's gonna be Derrick Henry. So I think this is the chance. If you're gonna start Derrick Henry any week, it's gonna be this week. So if you set him, you might as well drop him.
Yeah, there's probably a world where Pacheco gets into a better game script than Josh Jacobs because they're on opposite sides of the ball, but volume alone, I think you just got to go Jacobs there.
Yeah.
Tough question here. Rest of season, Kincaid, Ridley, or Jaylen Warren?
That's interesting.
So I'm gonna eliminate Kincaid from this conversation. Mainly because of his playoff schedule and that they have a bye week in week 13. So
true. You
lose a game, that's a disadvantage. And then they have just a gauntlet of, I think they have like one of the hardest remaining schedules in the league. Let me just pull it up here. So we got Philly today, tough one, bye week, KC, Dallas, Chargers, Patriots. You got to play Dallas, Kansas City, again, the Eagles, and the Patriots in championship week. I mean, I'm just not thrilled about that schedule. It comes down to Calvin Ridley or Jaylen Warren, and Calvin Ridley's been very up and down. Jaylen Warren, you are hoping that he takes the job from Najee, which it looks like he may be successful in doing. But where do you lean between these two? I think it's tough.
My question is, do we think that this past game against Tennessee for Calvin Ridley, is that sustainable? Getting, he's been pretty bad since kind of week 1. He's had a couple boom games, but Trevor Lawrence has been a little bit inconsistent. Christian Kirk kind of sneaks in there. We have ETN scoring a bunch of touchdowns. That obviously hurts the wide receivers for the Jags. I think if I'm going to stash one, like I'm not playing one, I think it's going to be Warren because the value of running backs is so high. If he does get to be that 65-70% snap share, I think he's more valuable. As much as we love Kincaid and we've sang his praises already today, he's at the end of the day, he's still a tight end and he's a rookie.
Yep.
So I typically do not want to start a tight end over a positional player like wide receiver or running back. And that still is the same for this question. I think Ridley has a ton of upside. His schedule is medium. They play the Browns. They play the Ravens. Houston, isn't a good matchup for wide receivers typically, but now with Stroud being so good, they're going to be forced to pass the football. So, it's close.
Like Ridley for me is just too up and down for you to count on him. They play Cincinnati in week 13, which is great. Then they play Cleveland, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Carolina to finish. Tampa Bay's secondary is not the greatest, but Cleveland, Baltimore, Carolina, you're looking at 3 very good secondaries. They don't give up much to the opposing fantasy wide receiver. Jaylen Warren, on the other hand, has a very, very nice schedule. Cincinnati this week, Arizona the next. Tougher one against the Patriots in week 14, but then Indy, Cincy again, and Seattle in championship week. That is very, very comfortable. I would go Jaylen Warren.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on today? Ford, they play Denver. Denver's defense lately has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like we just said, typically the running backs are just more valuable. He is splitting some work with Kareem Hunt. It's a full PPR league, which makes it closer. But do you like it? I think you're just banking on who gets in the end zone here.
And I would probably go with Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Floor and ceiling play. I think Kincaid's
Correct.
a phenomenal play, but it's just risk level. He might have a higher ceiling, he might, but if you're looking for just the average outcome, it's going to be Jerome Ford.
Mm-hmm. Right now, wide receiver 1 and 2 is Mike Evans and Devontae Smith. I have Zay Flowers in my flex and TJ at tight end. It's very nice.
Love it.
Should I put Dalton Kincaid in at the flex or Christian Kirk at the flex? I had Tua and Lions defense to start. So you're down a little bit with the Tua and Lions play. Tua was, I think, 10 fantasy points, depending on your league, and Lions defense was not great either.
Yeah.
So we need some upside. Dalton Kincaid and Christian Kirk are close, but I definitely think I lean Kirk there.
So do I. I lean Kirk. If it's a full PPR, I mean, it doesn't really matter between the two, but I think Kirk, in a hopeful shootout against Houston, needs to be involved. He takes turns being the wide receiver 1 for that Jags team, and he's very talented. I think he's great. So I would go Kirk at the flex. You have a good problem to have. You have 2 very, very good tight ends, and but I think TJ is close to being the number 1 tight end rest of season. Like he's elite. He's right on that. He's maybe a tier below Travis Kelce, but he's not far behind, especially with the Goddards and Andrews of the world going down. Like there's not too many, just one tight end I'd rather have over TJ rest of season. Kincaid is just a tier down from there, but not too far behind. Maybe at the bottom of that tier with TJ. But
so we've established that we prefer Kirk to Kincaid, but the remaining question is, do we replace Zay Flowers, who's questionable, with Christian Kirk?
I would play Zay over Kirk, I think.
Even with the questionable tag.
That's the risk level is injury, but I do think if he's a full go, he's going to be the number 1 target for the Ravens.
Okay. Beautiful. From Zach, don't know what to do in Superflex League. I'm a decent underdog against the number 1 team. Should I start Stafford? I also need 2 running backs between Rashad, Javonte, and Jaylen Warren. I don't know who your other quarterback is.
So would you start any of those running backs over Stafford?
Oh, I see what the question's saying. I think you have to just play the quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Rashad White is questionable, but we expect him to play. Javonte Williams is a terrible matchup. Jaylen Warren's the only one that I could see you pivoting to, but I just don't think he outpaces Stafford in the majority of matchups. And I think this is a good matchup for Stafford against the Cards today. So I go Stafford.
Yeah, and he said he's starting Herbert already at quarterback. So
okay, lovely.
I mean the Baltimore matchup isn't great, but you obviously have to start Herbert. It should be
this is a game where Justin Herbert could throw the ball 40 plus times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of fading Austin Eckler if you have better options this week against Baltimore.
He hasn't looked good.
Has not.
Who are you sitting between Rashad, Javonte, and Warren for Zach?
Who am I sitting?
Yeah.
I would probably go ahead.
No, yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
I would probably sit Rashad White, just coming back from the injury and questionable, and Javonte has been better. He's got a really tough matchup, but I would order them Warren, Williams, White.
Yeah. And between Pittman and Olave, is it crazy that I want to go Pittman?
No, not crazy.
Yeah, that's where I lean.
Pittman's been the recipient of a lot of volume lately, and volume is just king for fantasy football. We've seen Jameis Winston came in, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And Chris Olave was having a very, pedestrian fantasy day. And all of a sudden Winston comes in and starts launching the ball downfield, and Chris Olave just is the beneficiary of that. And for whatever reason, Derek Carr doesn't deliver the same deep threat. So when you just look at like opportunity and potential, if Pittman gets the ball more, even if it's shorter, I would just take the volume, especially in do we know what kind of league this is? Standard league. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah,
I think I still lean Pittman in a standard.
I agree.
Yeah. Tough one.
Shaheed or Taysom Hill in a full PPR league. I probably go Taysom Hill.
That's crazy.
I know. He's just so involved, especially when Derek Carr is on the field. Like, he goes in at quarterback, he goes in at running back, he's a tight end, he's everything. Shaheed has those big plays. He's great, has been better, and I like Shaheed, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. Taysom is just, he breaks all the rules.
he does. You're with him, you're just begging that there's some situational scenarios that get him on the field. They line up in the wildcat, they roll him out at in the slot as a tight end. Like, they're just using him as a gadget player, which they typically do. And that it's all game script dependent. Whereas like Shaheed, he's going to be going downfield, he's going to be an option at wide receiver. I personally lean Shaheed. But I understand where Landon comes from with Hill. It's likely a coin flip, though. You're talking about maybe like a fringe tight end 1 versus a wide receiver 3, and they seem to be worth about the same.
Yeah, they both had big games, and this past week Taysom had the bust game, but previously he had multi-point games consecutively.
Where do you lean, Nico Collins or Ramondre Stevenson?
Ramondre, remind me who the Patriots play.
The New York Giants.
Ooh, good matchup.
I have the Giants winning today, for the record.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, 2 in a row for the Giants. It could happen for sure. You mean, Billy's not the same quarterback or same coach that he once was, but they like to pick on rookies, and Tommy DeVito might be struggling, but you never know. I mean, it's not the same old Patriots that we're used to. I think I'd probably go Ramondre Stevenson.
I also go Ramondre. At the end of the day,
Nico.
the Giants are a poor defense.
Closer than I would like that to be.
Yeah, seriously. GBP 45. Happy Sunday. I got a trade offer. I give up Adams and Bijan for Cup, Waddle, and Najee. Full PPR. I'm in a must-win situation with Adams bye week next week. I'm not sure what to do. Okay. Giving up Adams and Bijan. So Adams and Cup, for me, you can call that a wash. And I probably prefer Cup just a little bit.
Rest of season. Yeah.
Rest of season. Bijan versus Najee, I'm way on the Bijan side. And then Waddle is just an extra.
Right.
So I think it really comes down to your wide receiver room. What do you have there that you would play in place of Jalen Waddle? Is Jalen Waddle a piece that you can use as a significant upgrade? Because in the aggregate, you would win. But you are taking a pretty substantial loss from Bijan to Najee, in my opinion. So it really comes down to, what are you upgrading your wide receiver to from to Waddle. Because if you're going from Chris Godwin to a Jalen Waddle, I'd rather have the Bijan and Adams play.
Correct. Yeah. Najee, if you have a good team, Najee's useless. Like
Correct.
if you're set at running back, you have like even a Brian Robinson type player, Isaiah Pacheco type player. I'm starting both those guys over Najee every single week.
Sure.
So yeah, the must-win situation, the bye week next week for Adams, makes it situational. In a vacuum, I'll probably take the Adams Bijan side, but in a needs-based trade, I think getting Cup, Waddle, and Najee, I'd rather just try to get a different player than Najee. Like I would just try to see what else they have, because Najee's just not a guy I'm trying to trade for at all. He's almost like a handcuff. He might be an elite handcuff if a Warren goes down. Just sad to say.
Yeah. Honestly, I think we just need to see the entire list of wide receivers and running backs that you have. If Najee now becomes your running back one, I hate that. I don't want that at all.
And you typically wide receivers are easier to replace. So when Adams is out next week, you might be in a really good situation adding players, or your bench has starting caliber wide receivers. But yeah,
let's see if we can get some more info from GBP, but we'll move on to Graham for a defensive stream: Saints versus the Falcons or Broncos versus the Browns.
Oh, good question. So, the issue with both of these streaming defenses is that the Falcons and Browns run the ball a lot.
Yes.
And so for a defense, you want interceptions and fumbles, basically. So, and sacks, I mean. So it's going to be who's going to be playing from behind more. And I think that could be the Saints have a better chance to play from behind more. So I go Saints.
I think I lean Saints as well. I mean, yes, they have is DTR still starting for the Browns, correct?
From what I understand, yep.
But he didn't look terrible. And, the Browns at the end of the day are going to be able to move the ball on the ground. And DTR is very mobile as well. I don't necessarily think that the Broncos are just a lock because they're playing a backup quarterback. I mean, the Saints are playing Desmond Ridder, and there's been a bit of a quarterback carousel in Atlanta as well. We've seen the Saints and the Falcons have some very unpredictable matchups in recent years. So I'd probably go Saints. And there's more to control here in a dome as well. So
yeah,
I think the Broncos win, but I don't know that it's by much.
Broncos have been winning some really tough games.
Yeah, seriously. In a PPR, need a running back and a flex: Cook, Warren, or Godwin. PPR, so I would go Warren. And then you're looking at Cook versus Godwin. You agree with the Warren play there?
Yeah, I think it's, especially after his big week last week, it's not it's completely reasonable to go to kind of chase that upside. And then I would probably go James Cook.
Yeah, I mean, I assume we're James Cook, not Dalvin Cook.
Yes, because I would go Godwin over. I mean, Dalvin already played, so.
Yeah, the Eagles present some challenges, I think.
But it could be a shootout. It could be a good game, a high scoring game.
I would like that to be the case.
Yeah.
I think I personally lean Godwin in a full PPR. If it was a half, I might lean the Cook side. I think it's really close. I just think against the Colts, Godwin should get enough volume to where he is at least, a reasonable play. It's very simple that James Cook could just get game scripted out if Philly comes out and boat races the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4 receptions last week. He had 17 opportunities on the ground. With the change of OC for the Bills, it seems like they're willing to stick with James Cook. But yeah, I mean, Phil last week against the Jets, and the Jets give up lots to the running back. He was a very good play. But yeah, it's definitely a tougher matchup this week against Philly. So Yeah, I lead. Yeah.
It's a
James.
tough one. I think they're very, very close.
Yeah, we want to see some more out of Chris Godwin. He's a really good player. I want to see. It should be an easy Godwin play, but he just hasn't done anything to earn that trust for me right now.
No, you're right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate y'all coming through. Toss a like, share, tell your friends about the channel. Mac and I, we got to every single question. We got to kind of go into more detail this week, and it's a must-win week. We got playoffs right around the corner, so trade deadlines have mostly passed. So I'll probably be doing some ranking videos coming up. Let me know in the comments of the videos what you want to see, what's valuable to you, because now with trades gone, it's the what to do with videos are kind of past. You start or sit them.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for on Sundays. So
Cue up the defensive ranking videos.
I know exactly. Do you have any defensive targets like that you're adding or you like the playoff schedule for?
In one league, because I've already locked up a playoff spot and it's going to be a 1 or a 2 seed. I've started stashing defenses. So
Yes.
I've got the Ravens, I've got the Browns, and
Yes.
I've got the Eagles. So I'm just kind of stacking some defenses instead of some deeper bench plays.
Yeah.
Because mainly my team is healthy. So I think if you're in a league with a defensive situation and you don't have injuries to consider, you start piling on some defenses that have some really nice matchups down the stretch. And the Ravens have a week 13 bye, and if someone in your league can't afford to hold 2 defenses, they might drop them next week. So keep your eye out for some big defensive plays like the Ravens to get dropped. Even though they have a tougher schedule, they might be better than streaming, a Jaguars.
The Chiefs are my
Chiefs are
favorite.
also a great one. Yeah,
Really good. They have
they have a nice schedule too.
I just had it up. They have Vegas, they have the Bengals, and they have the last one. They have New England, 15, 16, 17.
It's very nice.
Can't get any better than that with the backup
No.
quarterback in Cincinnati, week 17. So,
You're right.
all right, guys. Thanks so much for coming in. Good luck with this week, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Good luck.